Hello and welcome. My name is Scott and today I'm going to show you how to turn this into this. But before I do that, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Scott Bino and here on YouTube I like to do things related to guitars. So that's amp shootouts, pedal shootouts, demos, reviews, tutorials like this one, and if you're into that sort of thing, you might dig this channel. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before and you're already subscribed, thank you for coming back. I appreciate your support. Let's keep this channel growing. The reason why I'm making this video is sometimes I'm asked, hey, Scott, yeah? What pedal board do you use? That's a great question. Thanks for asking. The answer is simple. My pedal board. I made my own pedal board. And it's not that hard. Also, I did it for under 20 bucks. Now, of course, you can go out and buy your own pedal board from one of the companies that make pedal boards, and they're all great. They're usually made of metal, they're really well made, they're very sturdy, nothing wrong with them. But be prepared to spend a bit of money. For something smaller, you'd be around just under 100 bucks. If you want like a medium-sized pedal board, you'd be looking at the $100 to $200 range. And for a larger pedal board, you'd be looking at 300 plus, depending on the brand and the features that you're looking for. For me personally, I didn't need anything too fancy, so instead of spending a couple $100 on a pedal board, I opted to just make my own. And you can too. Now, a quick disclaimer, as you'll probably notice as we get into looking at my pedal board, I am not a woodworker. I am novice at best, but the point here is that if I can make this, you can make this. You could make a way more fancy pedal board than mine, you know, with multiple tiers, built-in jacks, all sorts of features that you might want personally, but for me, I needed something simple, so here's my basic pedal board. So I'm just going to talk real quick about the size and dimensions of my pedal board and some considerations you might want to think about when choosing the size of your pedal board. Now you could build this to any size that you want. One way to do it is to take a look at your current pedal setup and measure the width and the height of that area and make your pedal board to that size. That's fine and good if you're somebody who's probably not going to change your pedals very often and you're happy with that layout, just go ahead and make it to that size. But if you're somebody who likes to change things up and swap pedals in and out, you might want something a little bit bigger to accommodate future growth. Or you could do what I did and go on the website of other pedal board manufacturers and pick one that you would buy and make yours to that size. The benefit to doing that is if you ever wanted to buy a soft bag or hard case for your pedal board, you would probably have no issue finding one that fits so long as you follow the same dimensions. If you're curious about my pedal board, it's 25.5 inches by 14 inches. Each rail is about 1.5 inches and the spacing between the rails is about 1.5 inches to 1.75 inches. And the height from the back of this pedal board is around 4 inches tall. This provides a nice decline down to the front of the pedal board while giving me enough clearance for my power supply to be mounted underneath. So building this thing for me was really easy because I kept it really basic. Everything is pretty much a straight cut and it's put together with butt joints. All right, so let's go over some of the tools and materials that you'll need. Obviously you need wood, you need screws, and you need varnish to stain, seal, and protect the wood when you're finished. For my board, I used oak, but you could use maple, you could use pine, whatever wood that you have available to you, you could use. I just chose to use oak because it's a fairly durable and strong wood. The dimensions of the wood that I used are 1.5 by 3/4 inch. Every part of my pedal board is made with the same type of wood, making the cuts and the design and the build of this really, really simple. The tools required are pretty straightforward. You'll need a circular saw, obviously, to cut your wood. However, some hardware stores will cut the wood for you if you already have your dimensions figured out. Also, just a real quick tip about using the circular saw, make sure your blade is a high tooth count so you get a really smooth cut. You'll need a drill for your pilot holes. I'd also recommend using it for the screws instead of a screwdriver because it'll go a lot quicker and it'll save your wrist. I've got the clamps on the table there as an option. I highly recommend doing this on a workbench of some sort and using clamps to keep your pieces in place as you drill holes and as you put this thing together. I also have a few types of sandpaper, from a coarse grit to a fine grit to a super fine grit. I use the coarse 60 grit sandpaper to prepare the pieces of wood before I put them together to smooth out some of the corners and the edges that you get when you first buy the wood. I then used the 180 fine grit sandpaper once I built the pedal board and had my first layer of stain applied. After applying my second layer of stain, I used the super fine 400 grit sandpaper to create a nice smooth matte finish. All right, that is it. Thank you for watching the video. Appreciate you taking the time to drop in. If you like this video, you might dig this channel, so if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you've already subscribed, thank you for coming back. I appreciate your support. Let's keep this channel growing. And remember, stay safe and stay heavy. Peace.